Jesse,
Jack.
first podcast.
First podcast, man.
It's been a crazy journey up to this point. 13 years, I think,
Probably like 13
our
years.
friendship.
Crazy, man.
Crazy. Started at the same school together. I left that school to go to another school about halfway through, and you just so happened you followed 1 year after to that same school that I went to.
Yeah, it's wild. We've been to the same two high schools. We've both lived in America for, over a year or two. Like it's crazy to think how alike our circumstances have been.
100%. Even just to family dynamics, where we grew up, everything's just so similar in so many different ways. But the cool part about that is like you've been doing your own thing the whole time, and I've been doing my own thing the whole time. But they've just kind of seemed to link up and like coincide, which is pretty special.
It's insane. Yeah, the last 4 years I've been sort of just head down with push pull, and it was awesome. You came on the last 6 months there to help me out, and yeah, that was a wild ride, and I'm glad that I went through that, and I think I've learned so much for this part of my journey, this next phase with yourself, and I think you would say the same with Blank Earth.
100%. Yeah, I think a business and talking about business has always been a big part of our friendship as well.
Massive.
And you doing what you did at Push Pull, that kind of was a lot, like gave me inspiration to do my own thing with the Blanks business that I started about a year and a half ago, and then obviously we worked together on a few different things, and that was kind of short-lived, but now we've kind of seen this opportunity that sits ahead of us in being the best blanks manufacturer.
We live together. We speak about it every day.
We do.
It's crazy how much, like just this moment now, being in this room, we spoke countless hours of getting the mics, getting podcast guests on. Like it's almost a little bit overwhelming that it's all happening right now.
It's definitely surreal. It's so much work that's gone into it. So just so much time, that's gone into it to get to this point now, which is crazy. And I think, we're both super excited about what the future holds. And
there's definitely an opportunity here.
Yeah.
That I think we both sense that, and that opportunity, in my experience, Jack, I used to get contacted by, seemingly young kids every day about where we get our blank clothes from, how can they start their business? And it was a hard question to answer because we would get our stuff overseas, and that came with issues. You did things more locally.
We made everything in Melbourne, which was great. I'm speaking to my supply chain. I can go and visit them, talk to them. I got face-to-face relationships, which was awesome. Hence why I kind of kept it here. But there was problems with that. Just like anything, there's always going to be positives and negatives. And so I think that going through that and seeing you go through kind of the opposite foot of like you being the customer, we both have kind of met in the middle and come to a point where we think, all right, this is actually what this looks like. This is what a customer wants. This is what it needs to happen from a manufacturing logistics standpoint.
I couldn't agree more. I think this is a really conservative industry. I don't think blank clothing's changed. Your Gildans, your Ace colours, typically they're releasing the same style tees, similar colours, the same marketing, definitely the same marketing.
Yeah.
It's all been the same since I've been in the fashion industry. So I think that's where I'm most excited about, Jack, is to dive in, do with things like a podcast. I haven't seen any blanks company, run a podcast. And what we want to do is, we want to get creatives on. We want to give as much value as possible. But before we dive into, what we want to bring, I think it's important to talk about this issue at hand.
Talk about the problem.
Yeah, let me start with being at Push Pull. I think we did actually start in Melbourne, funnily enough, through some of the suppliers that you worked with. And that was great. When we were small and, we're doing, 20 T-shirts or 50 hoodies or whatever it was fine. There wasn't much pressure. But the moment we grew and we wanted to try different things, whether that was a new printing or dyeing technique, whether that was increasing the quantity or, the cotton blend, we were just hit with so many barriers here. I'm sure, I know you faced a lot of those and you can talk about that. But we went overseas, we did the old China, jump over there, cheaper quality, that old, fable. But what I didn't realize was the cultural barrier. In China and in the Eastern world, they have this tradition and a cultural value called saving face. So what that is pretty much no one says they can't do anything.
Yes.
Yeah, and you've definitely experienced it. Yeah, and it's probably the biggest issue.
There's a lot of yeses being thrown around.
It's just yes. Can you do this color? Yes, and then it comes a week later on a sample, and it's literally the opposite color. So, look, we faced a lot of issues communication, you know, the English probably not being the first language, of course. That comes, you know, when you're needing to cross every T and dot every I, like you can't afford to be on a different page. So that's what we experienced. But what did you experience here in Australia?
Yeah, I experienced, so in Australia, obviously the cost is a lot higher than overseas.
Correct.
So that's something I faced. And, you know, whilst I had some customers that were willing to pay that premium price for a premium product, in terms of scaling and ordering in bulk, it just, I think at the end of the day, people like price trumps everything. And I kind of found that out the hard way. And also back to the quality thing, I think, you know, just currently that's the products that are being offered in Australia, whether it's an AS Colour, whether it's a Gildan, the quality just isn't there. Like, to be quite frank, it's just, I think us coming from the backgrounds that we do in fashion, in brands, we know what people want. We know what the youth
needs.
wants, what the culture needs, what they've been asking for forever. And it just hasn't been offered because they don't have to offer it because there's no other players that are really in the space. I
couldn't agree more, Jack. Like I think we gotta tell our listeners, like, this industry, it's famine or feast. You know, we probably won't be here for another 6 months if we don't succeed.
Yeah.
And I mean that because the industry is full of billion-dollar companies. We saw AS Colour, I believe in 2020, I think an investor bought half the business for $600 million. That's $1 billion company.
Yeah, it's not change.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it's insane, right? Like, we're going up against probably $5 or $6 billion companies. There's no small players in this game. I couldn't name you one, not probably even internationally, really small blanks brand business. You know, it doesn't exist.
No, well, there's so much that goes into it that doesn't meet, like, behind the scenes. That in terms of the infrastructure, the relationships, the logistics, the inventory, there's so much on the service side of things, just as much as the product itself, that people probably take for granted.
On that note, you know, I would have never dived into this business 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but being in, you know, on the forefront of fashion in Melbourne and traveling around Australia and just realizing there is such a need for this.
Huge.
Like, it's almost like I can't die wondering. Like, I know how hard it is to, you know, for the startup costs. We got to buy a lot of blank clothing. We got to store them. You know, there's a lot of issues, but as I said, I just can't die wondering. I want to fulfill that hole in the gap, right? You know, it's just a huge gap in Australia and in the world, and we've got plans to take this global. So, you know, from my background, Jack, I think it's a service. I think that's where, you know, what I've done at Push Pull is we built a community of, you know, thousands of people where people felt connected, and that was because we were more than a brand. And here in the blank clothing industry, it's very conservative.
It is very old fashioned. It's very transactional. Here are your garments. Good luck.
Piss off.
That's it.
Come back when you sell those.
Yeah. And we'll sell you some more subpar garments that your customers probably don't really love wearing. So
it's a broken system. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Hence why we're not going to die wondering, because we just can't wrap our heads around how this is continuing. The cuts of majority of these garments are horrible. Like, they're hugging your body. You put them in the wash 2 or 3 times, it's not the same garment.
Different shape.
Yeah. We've sort of had enough, to be honest. Like, it's time to, like, put our money where our mouth is and actually
100%.
help society.
Yeah. I think just through going through the process ourselves, and we saw how hard and difficult this is, which on the surface it sounds like it should be the easiest thing ever. We're talking about blank garments that are pretty simple, but for some reason there's just so many headaches. So, and, you know, back to your point with overseas, you know, with the headaches come more from like a trust, communication, quality, shipping. You know, when do they get here? It's like a month, you know, at the best. If you're COVID, it was like 2-3. Who knows where they are?
Learning Incoterms, FOB, LLC. It's. I probably got those Incoterms wrong. I'm still learning.
That was all right.
Credit myself. I've been in the industry, right? But yeah, there's so much to learn, and we look. The biggest thing for Jack and I, we've written this down. We'll print it in our office very soon. It's about decreasing the industry barriers. We think, and that's from a knowledge standpoint, and that's from an infrastructure standpoint. We think there's just way too many barriers that exist for clothing brands. You know, cafes, gyms, bands. So many people use clothing to promote their brand. It's a great way. There's probably no better way like in society.
100%. I think it's one of the best in terms of just, adding another revenue stream to your bow. Awareness, yeah, brand awareness. It's amazing. I think, to your point, one of our mentors told us that there are 3 kind of big pillars in business, and a services business more specifically, and that is quality, price, and service. And his point was, you can usually only ever get 2, and you always have to sacrifice 1.
That's right.
And I think that is 100% true of the industry right now. That depending on whether you go overseas, whether you keep it within Australia, you're always sacrificing on something. And so I think we're the naive young guys coming in.
That's it, Joe. We're wide-eyed. We're young. We got that in us, in our corner. So we're going to try to provide all 3.
All 3.
Which is...
Be the unicorn.
We've been at it for 10 months. We're going to try to be the unicorn. We've been at it for 10 months, and we know why that's a big principle. We know why our mentors told us that.
It's a lot easier said than done, that's for sure.
We've spent tens of thousands of dollars on sampling. Our house is full of hoodies.
It's actually disgusting.
It is ridiculous. We got to start giving those away, I think.
We do, yeah.
But this process has been long. I just want to dive in on service for a minute. You said before, AS Colour Gildan, they sell you 100 T-shirts. It's goodbye. See you later. Sell those. I really want to change that. I think we can flip that on its head. We have a lot of experience with social media. See, a lot of these big billion-dollar companies, if you jump on their Instagram, you even jump on their website, they're pretty old-fashioned, really quick transactional, structures. We want to build a community. So we have a Facebook group built right now. It has about 150 people in it before we've even sold one garment. And these are all creatives. These are people looking to better themselves, to understand the industry further. And I can't express how much that group means to us. We post in it all the time. We engage. We're connecting people. We connect people from Adelaide to Melbourne to Sydney, and just bring people together and learn from each other. Do you want to discuss that a little, Jack?
Yeah, I think that's part of the service that we really hope to bring. That's different to what's being offered at the moment. I think there's so much value in connecting with others, especially in Melbourne, Australia, not to mention the world, but just like the culture that we have here in terms of fashion, just different creative industries. There's so many people doing so many cool things. Hence this podcast. Why we started this podcast is because we want to bring on those people. We want to tell their stories. We want to help them in the process through product, through service.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. I think we've learned in the industry by, finding the right creatives and hearing their stories and how they approach things. You can learn so much, and we can't wait to unravel some of those stories, some of those amazing come-ups. People have just done. We've spoke to so many. We've gone on one too many coffees, and just we love it. Hence why we're doing this podcast. It's not really work for us. If we can. We've learned so much personally. If we can get those stories out to the public, I just can't wait.
So much value there for everyone else.
Yeah, we're going to build something special if we can capitalize and get that done, at the right.
100%. I think the way we're going about it is we're very customer focused first, which I think your AS Colour, your Gildans aren't really. I don't think they have their eyes and ears to the ground like we do, and yeah, so I think that's going to be reflective of our garments. Our garments are going to be super high quality. We're going to offer a lot of different styles to cater for different creatives, their styles, their brands.
Bunch of colours.
Colour's going to be huge. So, yeah, I think it's just exciting. I think the opportunity, we know, although it's daunting and we're up against some big players, I think we're hitting it from a pretty unique way.
Definitely, we have a unique background. You've been in this industry for a while, and I've been sort of a customer of this industry and a student of it, and putting our two brains together, I think we're going to be hitting this. And, personally, Jack, I live with you as well, and we spend a lot of time together, but I probably haven't always said just like how much it means to have you in my corner. And I
likewise, man.
Appreciate you. I couldn't go into business with a better person with a better mentality. I think we've already faced so much adversity, but you've never faltered. You never deviate in, whether we have a great day or a bad day. And I learned so much from being with you every day.
I think we definitely complement each other extremely well. Our strengths mesh together very well, and our weaknesses, we probably pick each other up in those areas where we are weak. You're strong. Like a great one is, your energy is just unmatched. Like I could never match your energy. I could never, I can never convince or tell stories like you do. But I think, you know, my strength then is harnessing that energy in ways that are probably more beneficial for us as individuals and a business. And because, you know, Jesse's
Yes,
here, there, everywhere sometimes.
You spend 5 minutes with me, we've probably signed off on 5 businesses, and we're probably going to Vietnam together tomorrow. So I just get so excited, and with this opportunity, I have knuckled down, and I just know the opportunity at hand, and I know the quality people that we have, you know, to build this. We've just recently hired a videographer to help, you know, this microphone. Jack and I did not install it. We don't have those skills. No. Shout out to Digby behind the mic. So we're so excited, and it's almost a relief that we've got to this point, because even to be in this podcast room right now feels like we've
surreal.
Won. Yeah, it just feels amazing. We know the quality people that are going to come on here, and we just can't wait for you guys to listen. And if you guys have any questions or want to be on, this is your time. Get in early. But Jack, honestly, I can't wait for this journey, and I'm excited for us.
Me too, brother. Couple planes to the moon.
That's it.